Hi there, Sahaj Durnan here, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about should statements. Should statements are statements that we typically use when we're feeling like we need to change something about ourselves or about our lives. Now, I don't know about you, but I find that should statements really counterproductive and they never make me feel good in the end. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about it, and I wanted to give you an example. There's a woman I know that is terrified of flying on planes, and despite trying different things to get over that fear, including taking a tranquilizer when she does fly, and she has to fly frequently for work, she she berates herself, but also it's getting worse. Her fear of flying is actually getting worse. So she says things like, well, I should be able to get over this. I'm an adult. It's a silly thing. I fly all the time. It's relatively safe, but it doesn't. All those self-talk patterns do is reinforce the notion that she's not able to do those things, and then she further feels worse about herself, and her anxiety and her fear gets worse and worse. So what's the alternative? You know, I think what it comes down to is just starting to learn a little bit more about ourselves and the way that we react to things, and how we can start to teach ourselves how to react a little bit differently when situations come up in the future. So to use this woman's example, she could say to herself, things like, I am afraid of flying on planes, and that's where I'm at right now. I still do it, so I'm very courageous, despite this fear that has amplified over the years. I still manage to do it, which I think is very courageous. And then in talking that way, it reinforces more of the points that she wants to amplify in herself. The good points she wants to amplify in herself, like, wow, she's courageous. Wow, she can do this. So I I wanted to make that suggestion for you too. The next time that you hear yourself saying, I should do this, I should do that, I should be this way, I should be that way, to consider reframing that with something like, well, here's where I am today. This is what's going on for me right now. And yet, tomorrow things might be different. And aren't I courageous to be, following through with this? Or aren't I, isn't it great that I notice that I do this? Because the first step to being able to change a pattern is being able to notice that it's there in the first place. We can't stop the shoulds if we don't even know we're doing the shoulds. We can't stop ourselves from ramping something up in our mind if we don't even notice we're ramping it up in the first place. So, this is a powerful, compassionate process that I highly recommend for you, because acceptance really is the first step in managing anything in our lives that we're not enjoying, right? We've all created lives, or we haven't all created lives that we don't we don't like. I didn't mean it to say it that way, but we've all created things in our lives that we don't necessarily like, that are currently part of our lives that we can't necessarily change. And by berating ourselves about that being in our life, and by being upset about it, and by I should enjoy my life despite this, or I should just grin and bear it, or I should let the should be a message that something's out of sync, and that the self-care patterns might need to be ramped up a little bit, right? So in that way, then the should becomes just a message for you, as opposed to something that you need to change about yourself. How's that sound? So next time you hear yourself saying, I should blah, 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 I should think this way, I should change this, I should be different, I should have created something different, let's reframe that by saying, this is the way things are today. I can't change this right now. Aren't I amazing that, I'm able to manage this despite it not being easy for me? And then we can start with that little bit of acceptance. We can start to see, well, what is it I actually need and want as a result of this? And quite often, we just need a little extra self care. We just need a little extra TLC. So, what I would recommend then is just noticing those self care patterns that happen for you at noticing the shoulds that come in and the self-care patterns that you want to start to reinforce behind the shoulds, so that you can start to change some of those patterns that will become more uplifting, more supportive, more nourishing for you. All right. I hope that helps for today, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.